And I'm very happy to introduce our panelist, Gilles Cadignan. He is the CEO of the Woolit company. It's a startup dedicated to blockchain Bitcoin technology. And I'm also very happy to introduce William Faucheux, who is the CEO of Blockchain Your IP. And I will also make a presentation of IP and blockchain. And my name is Vincent Faucheux, and I'm a partner at Desprez Guignou Associés, a French law firm in Paris. So Gilles, it's your time.
Okay, I start. So, in case you didn't understand, I'm the tech guy here. So, I will try to explain the technology as a whole, and we'll focus on Bitcoin and what blockchain technology means for disintermediation and digital trust. So, the problem we address with Woolit is trust between participants who don't have trust and they don't trust each other. So the common solution is to use third parties. It could be notaries, it could be bailiffs, it could be lawyers, and actually those solutions are slow, are often expensive, and they're not compatible with the digital world. The problem with digital world is like it's very easy to tamper with any data. You just need Photoshop, or just you have a financial data and you can modify it when the audit come. So it's really easy to tamper with digital data, and our tools to deal with trust are not compatible with the speed of the digitalization of our world. So we need solutions, and maybe you heard about this. This is Bitcoin, and this appeared in actually the first paper of the anonymous creator of Bitcoin was in 2008, in the middle of a financial crisis. The goal was to invent a system where we won't need any centralized institution to manage money, actually. The premise is digital cash that you own, and you own for real. That means nobody can seize it. You can give money to anyone without asking permission to anyone. And the most important feature in Bitcoin is the censorship resistance. For example, the first use case of Bitcoin was when we had the WikiLeaks with Julian Assange, and every banking authority blocked funds going to WikiLeaks from Visa, from MasterCard, from any kind of banking system. So the only way to fund WikiLeaks and to give money to this organization was Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin is autonomous distributed consensus, and no central authority can censor it. That's why we have a lot of debates. It's a very scary technology because banking ecosystem, even central banks and states are afraid of this massive disruption coming to us. So what Bitcoin has to do with trust, actually? In order to exchange money, you need to put trust in the system. This is funny because when we talk about Bitcoin, often we talk about trustless technology. It means that with all the mathematical mechanism put in Bitcoin technology, you don't actually need to trust anyone. So this is real trustless technology. And you have to differentiate Bitcoin with a capital B and Bitcoin with a little b. Bitcoin with a little b, it's a currency, the token, and Bitcoin with capital B is a protocol. This is how the whole Bitcoin thing works. And it involves a lot of things. You heard about blockchain. Blockchain is a generic word, but this is not just about blockchain, which is just a data structure. You have consensus algorithm, you have a lot of math, a lot of cryptography, a lot of network, a lot of game theory, and as a whole you have, as a result, a consensus, autonomous consensus system. So Bitcoin works since 9 years, and no transaction in the Bitcoin history have been rewritten since. So Bitcoin has proven to be secured. Bitcoin has proven to be decentralized, and Bitcoin has proven that nobody can control it, and that's why it's so valuable today. Now we'll use Bitcoin and its hyper secure ledger to use it as a global notary, actually. Maybe we can stick next slide. Yeah. We'll use it as a global notary because we have a technology on top of Bitcoin. You have to think of Bitcoin with capital B as a basis protocol, and we add another layer on top of it to address scalability. Actually, with just one Bitcoin transaction, we can make millions of proofs. So in Wallet, we built an infrastructure sending time to time some Bitcoin transaction through the entire network distributed among thousands of machines. And on each transaction, we gather all the proof of our clients. This is important to note that our clients doesn't send to us the actual data. We work with something called hash, which is like a footprint of the data, which is a number, which identifies the data. With the hash, you cannot guess what the actual data is. So there is no confidentiality issue. There's no confidentiality issue because we just have the hash to identify the data. And then we build a link between a Bitcoin transaction, actually, that everybody can see on the network, and our documents. As a result, we have a proof which is international, borderless, permissionless, that anybody can verify without intermediary, even us. We're just giving the technology to build those international and open proofs. So we have a proof of existence feature, a proof of digital signature, and we scale through aggregation, and we have a long-term vision as we base our technology on the Bitcoin protocol. There's a lot of blockchain out there. We just work on the most secure and what we think could be the future protocol of money and trust. If you think layers, we need in internet we have TCP/IP as a protocol. Then you have HTTP and Twitter, Facebook on top of this. We need a global protocol, and for us, we think it's Bitcoin because it's the most secure and where the most serious guys working on. Next slide, please. So what we do with those, what we call technical primitives. We have a lot of use case. We just starting, the company is 2 years old, and we barely scratched the surface. We have a lot of use case. Every day we have use case. And we're not, we just provide the tool, and then business sectors take our technology and adapt it to their needs. Next, we'll talk about IP protection, which is actually the first use case we developed with Vincent and William. IP protection is quite obvious because if you have a proof in the blockchain, a proof of existence of your work, then you can prove to the world that you create this thing before others. But we have a lot of other use cases. You have a document certification, you have everything about contracts. You want to sign contracts, you want to make sure nobody modified the contract. You have KYC, you have GDPR, and all the compliance aspects. When regulators ask for proof, you can use blockchain technology and our technology to be compliant, actually. And audit, of course, and there's many more. We are working now with public services, with private companies. We don't have, we don't prefer anybody. We work with everybody, and but this is just the beginning. I think this kind of security could be a standard for tomorrow. And I think I'm done, actually. It was the tech part, and now Blockchain Your IP represent the project.
Thank you very much, Gilles.
You're welcome.
So if we could go through the presentation for Blockchain Your IP. So I would like first to introduce myself. I have two hats. The first one is a classical lawyer, attorney pleading in front of courts with day-to-day problem of evidence. This is my first hat, and my second hat is a young startupper in the blockchain Bitcoin technology with William, my son, and hopefully William gave me some input about the blockchain technology, and I realized how it could be powerful for our clients and how wonderful this tool was. And this was the birth of Blockchain UIP more than 1 year ago, nearly 2 years. So if you could go through. So, intellectual property. What is intellectual property? We should take a large definition of intellectual property. We have registered rights and unregistered rights. Registered rights, trademarks, designer model, patents. Everything is okay for them. When you have a problem in front of a court, you bring your title and it could be okay in most of the cases. Of course, there are counterclaim on the validity, but you have the strength of the title. But when it comes to unregistered rights, it is more difficult. And unregistered right is copyright, could be know-how, could be trade secrets, many things. So we have, in business life, a discrimination between registered rights and unregistered rights. Our clients, small or big companies, are very rigorous when it's time to handle their IP registered rights. They have clear listing of their trademark, of their patent, and of their design. Everything is okay. But when we look at their portfolio for unregistered rights, it's most of the time a big mess. And there's no clear and global overview of their unregistered portfolio. And so we face a huge issue of proof. Next, please. So, but what are the risks? But risks are everywhere for a company, you may know. Hackers, unfair competitors, infringers, former indelicate employees, former indelicate contractual partners, patent troll in the US or copyright troll. The risks are everywhere. And if you don't have any proof of your right, this could be a nightmare. So, next please. And the problem comes from a legal favor, a gift to company. And this is a worldwide gift given by the Berne Convention, you know, at the end of the 19th century. And the principle of the Berne Convention is the automatic protection for copyright. So you don't need to make any formalities. You don't need to make any registration in front of public or private body. You don't need to do anything. And this is the same for trade secrets or know-how. You don't need to do any kind of registration. So this is a favor for creation, a favor for invention. But in fact, next please, this legal favor for unregistered right is too frequently a ground for negligence in business life. And most of the time, the company don't take the appropriate measure to keep traces of their unregistered designs, unregistered rights, or know-how, or trade secrets. Maybe we go through. Next, please. Of course, we have a traditional system to evidence these unregistered rights. You have bailiff reports. In France, we use that a lot. You have notary affidavits. In Switzerland, it is very popular. You have a registration system with authors society or scientific society. You could also use private company. You have some in France or some others in the UK or in every country of the world. Or you can use public authority. For example, in China, you have the Copyright Office. But these systems are not fully satisfactory. Next, please. Why? First, because the philosophy is completely outdated. It's completely obsolete. Why? Because the philosophy of this system is to protect the creation at the end of the creative process, or innovation at the end. But what will you do during the development of your patent? If it takes 2 years to develop a new watch, what will you do during these 2 years? Will you wait to file your patent to be protected? So the philosophy of the system is to protect a termination, an end, and not an ongoing process, not a life cycle. And we need to protect this life cycle. It could be very useful on a legal point of view. Then, the existing systems are not at all appropriate to protect collaborative work. Now, in 2018, we collaborate with university, we collaborate with others. We have consortiums agreement. We need to do R&D in some various fields of activity together at the same time. We need to share. We cannot find innovation alone. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we do not. And how you could trace these various contributions coming from everywhere and changing all the time if you don't have a reliable digital tool. So these systems are not designed for this collaborative innovation. And also the existing systems are national. They are linked to a national system, either private or public. And blockchain technology is on the opposite, linked to no legal system. It's international by nature. And the technical aspects of this technology are the same. Whether you are in Japan or in New York or in Paris, it's exactly the same protocol with the same characteristics. And it costs less. So it's very interesting to challenge this existing method of proof. And most of the time, in real life, I would say, as a lawyer, when I fight to protect the creation of my client, I cannot rely on these documents because my clients have not done these registrations, even imperfect. We rely on documents coming from day-to-day business life. We rely on catalogs. We rely on press release. We rely on video on YouTube to protect assets with huge values. So it's a nightmare as a lawyer because it's completely unsecured and we cannot protect assets estimated with up to millions of euro with press release. It's not serious, but it is real life. Next, please. So, blockchain, William.
Okay, next. I'm William Fauchou and I'm the CEO of Blockchain UIP. Next, please. I'm going to talk you to start to 3 use cases for blockchain in the IP field. First of all, we have the notary field to register creation and invention and timestamp them to have proof of existence. That is the use case we address with Blockchain UIP. Then we have the to authenticate product, for example, with chipset will be soon able to authenticate and spot counterfeit items, and this will help the custody services. And last, we have the management of royalties and smart contract and a better repartition of revenue thanks to smart contract, even if the last point is not mature technically yet. Next, please. So what are the benefits for IP of the use of the blockchain? First of all, is transparency. By transparency, I mean that everybody can check the blockchain at any time. Basically, you can download it on your computer, and thanks to open source tools that are auditable by everybody in the world, you can check if the proof is a true proof or not. That means I can challenge your proof, and I can answer, check by yourself. You have the free tools on the internet. So that's a great thing about blockchain proof. Secondly, is tamper-proof and secure. When you register a proof on the blockchain, it duplicates to all the nodes of the blockchain. That means your proof is at many places at the same time. It's not like if it's on a centralized computer and you can attack it. Here we have the proof to replicate all around the world, and so it's stronger. It's simple and fast, as you don't have to have the intervention of a third party. It's international by design because the blockchain Bitcoin is the same, whereas you are in London, in Paris, in Tokyo. So everybody knows the rules are the same for everybody, and it's international by design. It's confidential because we don't, even us don't know the document that is protected. Only the company can prove it, and it cost effective, and that could be very interesting for company and for independence. Next, please. So who are we? Blockchain URP is a strange meeting of two worlds that should have never met, something that never happened. On one side we have lawyers, on the other side we have engineers. And we wanted to make a tool that will take the best of both worlds, to have a tool that is as reliable on the legal field than on the technical field. And that's what we're working at. And we have a scientific committee of well-known professors in France that check everything that we do in order, because our goal obviously is to make a proof that can be used in real life, in business situation, or behind code. What are our goals? We have two obsessions. The first obsession is to offer legal proof of the existence of creation and innovation. Blockchain proof shouldn't be just for Silicon Valley geeks. It should be for everyone, for lawyers, for judges, for anyone that hasn't a degree in engineering. And so that's what we are working at, to make it as simple as possible. Our second obsession is to propose the most confidential system possible. And I think we get the most confidential that you could ever have, because you don't even have a third party that know your document. Only you keep your document at your company. We only receive a footprint that does not allow to go back to the document, and that is the only data we are left with. So it's your proof, it's not our proof. Next, please. So what is our strategy? We address basically two main markets. We have independent, and the use of the blockchain is really useful for them because it's cost effective, so they can access to intellectual property, whereas before maybe they wouldn't do it. And company, and so they can do it in 2 minutes. It's very fast on the internet. And we have companies that will have integrate system to their existing process, and the blockchain can offer them way better protection of their process. Next, please. There is one single address. You can visit us at blockchainurip.com. For individuals, there is an online service. It's an app, just like a Gmail. You can access and drop your documents. For company, we give license granted in them that just need to be integrated. Next, please. So how does it work technically? Gilles already explained it, but we take a document footprint. It is a unique number that is always the same for a document. You can take a document or take it in 10 years, it will always have the same fingerprint. This fingerprint is calculated in your computer, not on blockchain UIP server. Then we a simple form that we made with Belief and lawyers in order to make the blockchain proof intelligible and usable in front of judge or in business situation. Then we anchor this fingerprint in the blockchain by inserting it in a transaction, and at the end we deliver a certificate. Okay, you can see it there, and on the certificate there are data that allow you to check the proof by yourself, thanks to open source tool, of course. Next, please. So it's the simplest and fastest way to protect your document. You can see we say it's less than 2 minutes to finish protection, but it's 30 seconds. It's just like a drag and drop on Dropbox or every system. Very easy. Next, please. One of the things with blockchain UIP is we wanted to have a personal page with all evidence, like a general portfolio of all immaterial assets of the company. So at one place, you can find all the assets of the company and filter them by dates, by tag, by relevant things, by who done it, or everything, and that allow you to have a view of all the material material assets of your company. Next, please. We also integrate a function of collaboration between creators and inventors because we believe that innovation will be more and more collaborative with R&D or consortium, and so it's very easy to add co-authors or co-authors and to give them a quote of documents. Next, please. So we also changed the paradigm of protection. Protection used to be at the end, and that creates juridic, legal insecurity. So we wanted to change that and to propose protection that could be all the way the creative processes. So for example, for the creation of a ring, you could have a first proof for the marketing brief, a second proof for the sketch, and maybe after we are going to have a garage drawing, so we can prove that to the 3D model, because more and more jewelry professionals work with 3D impression. And at the end we have the finalization of the third jewelry, and why not the pre-divulgation to public. So we have all the life of the creation, and that allow you to protect too, maybe the drawings that you didn't finish or whatever. Next. So to conclude, I will say the benefits of blockchain ERP is that it's secure because you're the only one to know your document. The documents stay in the company. It's simple and fast. In fact, for a company, it's automatic, so there is no need to fulfill any form. It's automatically done. It's designed by lawyers, law teachers, and believe it's cost effective. We have ongoing protection that allow you to be well more protected, and it's international by nature, so you could use it worldwide. Next, please. And I'm gonna.
Thank you, William. So you may ask yourself, but what is the purpose of all these things in my IP strategy? What are the main goals linked to this new tool? And we have identified 3 main goals. The first one is to optimize your prevention in IP. The second one is to optimize the security of your IP agreements. And the third one is to be more efficient in your IP litigation. And we'll go through these 3 goals. And also one of our goals is to give you a tool, what we call an IP cockpit, to manage the whole creation and innovation in a company, and to follow the intensity of your creation or innovation in your company, to know which department of your company is the more creative one. Are you producing more know-how or more design? What is the period during the year where you are more creative? All these figures should be available to a modern company, and this is our goal. Next, please. So, a defensive approach in IP, what does that mean? We think that it could be very, very useful for a company to create what we call a digital shield, to allow you to trace internally all your creation or innovation process, and to keep internally your proof in case of problem. You know, sometimes you create things but you do not disclose it. Sometimes you develop invention but you will not present it on the market. But at the same time, somebody will do the same thing in the US. And when you will come on the US market, the guy will say, well, give me 10 million euro or $10 million, or please stop. And then you will have to show your good faith. Because in the US, the good faith is very useful, not only to minimize your exposure to damages or to avoid a condemnation. So you will need to show your proof, and this should be reliable proof. And so for preventive IP, we consider that blockchain could be a very, very efficient tool at an international level. Also, it's interesting for you to keep your proof of creation and use. It could be useful also to do defensive publication. Sometimes it's your interest to do disclosure on the market and to date your disclosure. Sometimes it's interesting to send message to disloyal employees or partner to say, well, you can do anything you want, but be advised that everything is recorded now. Everything is recorded. So you cannot do tricky things with the IP assets of the company. This could be a real threat for disloyal third parties. And you could also with this tool neutralize the patent troll or copyright troll, so damaging in the US. And also we are working now on a badge, on a stamp, which could be affixed on every image displayed on the internet. That means that every photo you will decide to share on the internet will bear a very, very small badge indicating that it is registered on the blockchain. So if third party wants to copy this image, they could do so, no problem. But they will know that they will be traced and that you will be able to show your prior rights. So it's a protection and a public protection. And I imagine that in the coming months, you will see claims on the internet indicating that this creation is duly protected by a blockchain registration and that no reproduction is authorized unless, etc., etc. And this could be a very, very strong and efficient warning to the market. So this is what we call the defensive IP approach, a real defensive IP approach with the blockchain Bitcoin technology. But also, this could give you a new approach for agreements, for IP agreements. This could give you a secured scope of your IP agreement, a secured scope for confidentiality. You have all seen a confidential agreement where it is indicated that confidential information are the information defined by a big C and a big E, but nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows if this covers also existing information. Nobody can make the distinction between those available on the market and those which are not. This is a nightmare to find the real confidential information in an NDA. And then with the blockchain, you can perfectly attach to your contract few blockchain certificates indicating that these 10 documents duly evidenced in the blockchain Bitcoin are the scope of confidentiality. There's no room for discussion at all. And same for license agreement, and same for IP transfer agreements. You could perfectly define the scope of the rights you are granted to your partner, to your licensee. And also, it could be very useful for R&D and for consortium agreements. You know, these agreements when you have 10 participants, when you have a university, when you have a research center, when you have your competitors sometimes, when you have people coming from other industries. So it's very complex to trace the existing assets, the common assets generated during the agreement, the new assets generated outside the agreement. How will you trace that? It's a nightmare for IP lawyer, we all know that. And with the blockchain Bitcoin technology, you can trace all these things very easily and know exactly, under the supervision of a committee, for example, who have created what. So it could be very, very useful for your IP agreements. And third, it's also very useful for your IP litigation, because you will rely on a strong blockchain certificate, which could be presented in France, but also in New York, but also in Hong Kong. You don't need to generate specific proof for each jurisdiction. You have a worldwide valid proof, which will have the same technical characteristics in every country of the world. And also you will be able to issue your certificate, and this certificate, as we explained, is combining technical data and also metadatas, which are fully understandable by a judge, such as your name as the IP owner, such as the name of third parties with whom you are sharing your rights, if any, but also the name of your creation, but also the declared date of creation, and so on. So you can add many information intelligible for a judge, and this could be a strong basis for damages. First to win the case, and then to obtain damages. And we have seen many cases where a party has lost a case, not because the case was weak. No, the case was very strong, but there was no proof of prior rights, simply. And so proof is at the heart of every IP litigation. It's the first key issue we should manage as a lawyer. Then also, everybody forgets that we have a European directive on trade secrets, and that this European directive should be implemented in every state member at the latest on June 10th of this year. And everybody forgets that this directive indicates that in order to benefit from the protection of the directive on trade secrets and know-how, you should evidence that you have taken appropriate measures to keep your secrets. And blockchain Bitcoin technology is by nature an appropriate measure to show that you have made your best efforts to protect your secrets. So we have, with this directive, I think a huge pressure to implement in our companies the blockchain Bitcoin technology. So this could be very useful in these three cases, and not only for litigation. Next, please. And then we have developed what we call an IP cockpit, because we were very surprised to see that most of our clients were not in the possibility to really manage their creation or their innovation. I mean the unregistered rights, because the registered rights were very well managed, but the unregistered rights were not managed at all, with no view about quantity, about typology, about frequency, no view at all most of the time. And so our work was to give to our clients through this tool a possibility to manage their IP portfolio of unregistered rights and to make selections with a dashboard, what we call the IP cockpits. I think that's all, and so we are ready for any question you may have.